So in this video, I'm going to go through the story of how my investment property loan got approved, the issues that I faced, as well as the numbers as well. So initially, I got a pre-approval done, and normally the pre-approval lasts for 3 months. In my specific scenario though, the property search took so long that the pre-approval actually ended up expiring. Now, I was working quite closely with my broker throughout the entire process, and myself personally, in terms of career, I work at a bank as well, specifically in lending. So I was pretty confident in terms of what my borrowing capacity could look like, so I wasn't too worried about that. So once the property came through and I felt pretty confident with it in terms of the numbers and such, I signed the contract and committed to the purchase and kept it subject to finance. Now, this is very important because it protects you as the buyer. If for some reason the bank declines your loan or you can't get finance for your property, the subject to finance clause allows you to terminate the contract, usually with little to no penalties, and that can save you from a lot of financial trouble. Now, if you've seen my last video, you'd know that during this entire property process, there is a trend where I have just left things a bit too late. So Friday afternoon, about 2 weeks before settlement, I get this email from my buyer's agent and I'm like, crap, I've messed this up yet again. There is no way that I'm going to be able to get finance in 1 business day, especially when Monday is literally 3 days away, and it's just not going to happen. I was very upset and angry at myself that I've let this go yet again. I reached out to my broker as soon as possible for him to lodge the application ASAP and escalate it and just send it through with whatever urgency and things that he can put on it, and he lodged the application straight away. Luckily though, the buyer's agent email did say that if you need an extension, let us know. I was so thankful that I went back to him and basically told him that I am going to need a few more days till Thursday, so about 4 days extension, and I thought that's going to be plenty of time to get it through, especially because at that moment in time, the bank was sitting at around 1 business day for approvals. Thankfully, the sellers accepted the variation to the contract and that was all good to go. Luckily, I got the valuation done as soon as I signed the contract, so that didn't take too long at all, because normally the valuation can take a few days to come back, but luckily that part was all sorted. Now, with me being a bank employee, especially if you work for a Big 4 bank, one of the best benefits that they have for staff is that you can borrow up to 90% of the property value without paying any sort of LMI, which stands for Lender's Mortgage Insurance. If you guys are new to all this, LMI is basically a cost or a fee that you pay if you normally borrow above 80% of the property value. I've done a whole breakdown of LMI and how to avoid it. I'll leave a link in the description, and there should be a pop-up on your screen as well. So this benefit specifically was going to save me thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, in terms of the loan process, my broker sent it through, and for some reason the bank did take its sweet time in approving this, so much so that it literally came down to the wire. Now, full credit to my broker, who was literally emailing, calling, doing everything that he can in his power to get an answer, and the bank finally got back to us on the last day of the extension, which was a Thursday, with approval. I got sent the formal approval letter from my broker around 2:30 p.m. Sydney time, which is well within the deadline that we set. Luckily, the sellers and the property is in Perth, so we did have a few more business hours in terms of Perth time if there were any further delays. Now, this is a snippet of the approval letter. This is based on a purchase price of $625K. It is a 30-year principal and interest loan at 6.39%. Given that I'm borrowing 90%, that is $562,500. It's all looking good, but hang on a second. What the hell is this? LMI? $15,000? What? I shouldn't be paying any of this. What is this? Seeing this, I was absolutely furious, because not only did the bank take 4 days, an increase of 3 days from their normal timeline to approve the loan, but they have messed up one of the most crucial parts of this application. And the whole reason that I'm going with this bank in the first place is to avoid fees like this, where I'm gonna have to pay $15,000, where this should be completely waived under the employee or staff benefits. Otherwise, in all honesty, I can go with any other bank and this should have been sorted. Not make matters worse, I sent the letter through to my solicitor and basically told him that the loan has been approved, but it will get amended by the banks shortly, and I'll get back to you when it does. Now, at this point, I'm asking for an update from my broker like every hour to see when this change could be amended. Is something wrong? You know, have I done something wrong? Or I know that I'm an employee, obviously I work at this bank, so everything should be sorted. Asking for him for an update, and he's telling me I'll get back to you, let me see how we go. I was really hoping it doesn't take an extra 4 business days, because that would absolutely be pushing it. The next morning, Friday, I get a text from my broker saying that it's all been approved and it's all been fixed, and I'm so grateful to hear this, but I'm like, please send me the letter ASAP. I want to verify with my own 2 eyes that it has been fixed. He sends through the letter, and this is the snippet. As you guys can see, no LMI. Thankfully, this is all good to go. I'm so damn glad. So I sent the amended letter to my solicitor again, and then that concluded the finance piece, and the property ended up settling around 2 weeks after that. Now, I also want to show you guys the settlement statement for my property and what that looks like, because we often talk about borrowing 80%, 90% of the property value, but there are lots of other fees and costs that are associated with buying a property. So the settlement statement basically summarizes this all for us. So let's jump into it. So this is the settlement statement. We can see the first item is loan proceeds, 562,289. I'll mark this as A. This shows the actual funds available from the approved loan. Then we have item B, which is funds for lodgement fee. Now, if we add A and B together, that equals a loan amount of 562,500. And then from that amount, $210.30 was taken out for fees. Then we have item C, which is purchaser's equity, about $85,000. This was the amount that was taken away from my personal account at settlement to settle the difference. So if we look at A plus B plus C, this equals $647,000. These were all the funds that were available to settle this property. Now let's look at all the costs. So first up, we have item D, which is the total amount payable to seller on settlement at $621,000. This is pretty interesting because the property sale price and the price that I bought it at was $625,000. And at the time of signing the contract, I paid a deposit of $5,000. So at settlement, I should only be paying the sellers $620,000. Why am I paying $621,000? What is the extra $1,000 or so for exactly? Well, it turns out that the previous owners had paid rates up to a certain period in time after settlement, and after all the adjustments and calculations, the sellers were owed about $1,300 to adjust the rates back up to the settlement date, because legally they're only required to pay up till the settlement date. Anything afterwards is my responsibility, because at settlement the changeover in title happens and the property officially gets transferred to me. Then we have E, which is lodgement fees of $550. This is to register the mortgage and various transfer fees and such. This goes to the state government. Then we have item F, which is transfer duty or stamp duty, everybody's favorite thing. This again goes to the state government. Next up we have G, which is professional fees of $1,848. These are the fees which were charged by my solicitor to attend settlement and do various searches like title searches, inquiring with the council and such, to basically make sure that the due diligence is done for the property. So you can expect to pay around this much for settlements and all up from your conveyancer or solicitor. It really depends. Some fee structures might be cheaper than this, some might be more than this, but ballpark, it should be around $1,000 to $2,000. And then lastly, item J, we have the electronic settlement fees. This is pretty standard nowadays because settlements are being conducted digitally. Gone are the days when settlements used to be done in person with bank checks and solicitors going to a certain venue and exchanging bank checks to settle the property. It is now being done electronically, which just makes things a lot easier and faster. And again, if we add up all these costs, it equals to $647,606.72, matching the funds available down to the last cent. If you guys found value in this video, you'll want to check out my previous video which talked about structural issues with this exact same property that I bought and how those were resolved. So check this out and I'll see you guys in the next one. Please subscribe, stay tuned, bye now.